Hello, my name is Yamari Angel, and I'm the strategy manager for postsecondary access here at Alabama Possible. And welcome to our webinar, College Admissions 101, Part 2 of the series with our out-of-state institutions. Joining us today, we have Khalil Baker from Berea College and Wendell Fountain from Jackson State University for our panel discussion. And then we also have Alexis Robinson from EAB for our Alabama Direct Admissions Refresher for the second part of today's webinar. So let's go ahead and get started. We would like to take the time to thank our sponsors. Because of their support, we're able to provide trainings for free. We would also like to thank our partners from the Alabama Commission on Higher Education, Alabama Community College System, the Alabama State Department of Education, and Get Educated, which is the common Black college application. Some housekeeping notes. Please keep your microphones on mute at all times. Please disable any AI note takers unless accommodations are needed. Please let us know by sending us a message. This webinar will be recorded and posted to youtube.com/Alabama Possible within the next 2 days. Submit your questions in the chat and we will answer them throughout and towards the end of the webinar. And then finally, we value everyone's feedback, but it is especially important for high school educators seeking professional development credit to stay until the very end and answer the final set of poll questions to receive full credit. If you post your college-going efforts on social media, tag us at AL Goes to College, and don't forget to use the following hashtags. For those who are unfamiliar with the Alabama Goes to College campaign, there are 3 main components to the campaign. The Cash for College goal is for every graduating senior to complete the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid before they graduate from high school so that they can access federal, state, and institutional aid to pay for their education after high school. The Alabama College Application Week, which is part of a national effort designed to help high school seniors, especially first generation and low income students, to navigate the college application process and apply to at least one post-secondary institution. And then we have the College and Career Decision Day, which celebrates students committing to pursue their education, credentials, and pursue skilled trades or join the military after high school. Before we start the conversation with our panelists, we want to highlight the importance of post-secondary education and training, which can encompass many different pathways. So here we're looking at data from the Labor Market Information Division of the Alabama Department of Labor. They produce occupational projections for over 800 occupations. And here we see job growth by level of education typically needed for entry into that job. This is the growth from 2020 to 2030. We see the highest growth for post-secondary groups. Occupations typically require master's degrees are projected to grow the fastest over the period, followed by doctoral or professional degrees and associate degree occupations. The education classification showing the slowest growth includes some college, no degree at 1%, and high school diplomas or equivalent at 4.2%. Occupations requiring some college, no degrees, and higher surpass the annual median wage for all occupations, which is 37,253. Doctoral or professional degrees occupations report the highest wages in 2020, followed by master's degrees and bachelor's degree occupations. No formal education credential occupations are the lowest earning, falling at 22,251. So now, after reviewing some of the levels of education attainment translated into greater occupational growth and higher median wage, students and educators can use the Department of Labor's Career Exploration Guide to search career pathways by level of education attainment to better understand what occupations are available for them when they pursue further education. And then the link will also be on the slide. So now I'll hand it over to May, who will go over the poll question.
What is the biggest reason your students choose to go to out-of-state institutions? Highest is funding options at 33%, and then both program opportunities and a new environment or culture came in second at 25%. So I appreciate y'all's input there, and we'll be hearing more from our panelists to talk about the opportunities that their institutions offer.
I'd like to start our panel discussion by allowing Khalil Baker and Wendell Fountain to introduce themselves. So, Khalil, if you'd like to start.
Sure. My name is Khalil Baker. I am the Assistant Director of Admissions at Berea College. I graduated from Fairfield High School here in Alabama, and I've been working in higher ed the last 15 years. In the last eight, I believe, have been in admissions at Berea College.
Hello, everybody. I'm Wendell Fountain. I'm an admissions recruiter here at Jackson State University. I've been in higher ed for 12 years, currently here at Jackson State. All of that time has been in admissions and recruitment capacity. And I am originally here from Mississippi. Um, and I like what I do. I like having the opportunity to provide information to students about the awesome educational opportunities that we have here at Jackson State University. If you're in recruitment, then you understand that um, it's everybody, every institution says recruitment is everybody's job. However, for me, it's what I do daily. Not only recruit, but acclimate new and incoming students to Jackson State University and explain to students why it's important to choose education and at best why it's important to choose Jackson State. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. We do have prepared a set of questions, but I would like to remind you to type questions in the chat and we'll answer those as we go along, or towards the end of the discussion. So let's get started. So let's talk about what happens after a student says yes to your college. What are their next steps in the enrollment process, and what costs should they and their families anticipate? So I'm thinking about things like application fees, orientation fees, housing deposits, and if there are other fees that students and families should know about. So, Khalil, if you want to start us off, and then Wendell, give us your response.
Sure. After students admitted into Berea College, the next thing that I say is important is visiting campus and getting a feel for campus and making sure you feel the fit. For me, when I went to Berea College, which was ages ago, I knew Kentucky was one of the 50 states. That was about all I could tell you about the state of Kentucky. But it was our no tuition promise that got my attention. This is going to be affordable if I go to Berea College. That got my attention. That got me through the application process, which is free. And still to this day, it's free to apply for all students. But it's beyond that, it's getting to campus, getting the feel of campus. I can tell you all day, Berea College was created with diversity in mind during slavery, during the women's suffrage movement. This is who we are. This is a campus that was created for, intended for us all. But to get on campus and to feel it for yourself. And I encourage folks, whatever college you're looking at, you have to do a campus visit to make sure you're going to feel comfortable there, because most of your time is spent outside of the classroom. The other piece is, like I said, there's no application fee. There's no enrollment fee at Berea College. We used to have the deposit that students had to pay $0 to $50. We've taken that away at COVID, with students were having a hard time paying for that, and our alumni donated a lot of money, so students will have to pay for it. We've decided in the last 2 months to do away with it completely, so students don't have to pay anything for that. Same thing coming to orientation. They don't have to pay anything orientation. So we try to get rid of all the barriers that we can as far as accessibility.
Definitely following up on what Mr. Baker said, some very key things. That next step process can be overwhelming depending on the list of things you have to do. But definitely the first thing you want to do is set that campus visit. School, I can tell you all day that Jackson State has this, has that. We have a beautiful campus. The environment is nice. However, for you as the individual student, you need to visit that campus and see if that fit is for you. Every fit is not for everyone. So you need to find the place that you feel most at home, because that college or university is going to be your home for the next 4 years. And then as a senior preparing to go to college, you have to step outside of your friends and understand that your college path and plan is not going to look the same as your friends. The whether a school has an application fee may be different from you or one of your friends. The student may not be able to afford an application fee. So finding schools that don't have application fees or other paths around that may be different. Enrollment fees. We do have an enrollment fee at Jackson State. So that's going to be one of those things you have to kind of give an account for. In the ideal world, this student has prepared for this years prior to. So when they get to this, it's easy. But we all know that that's not the case in every situation. So definitely for us, we do provide a student, once you're admitted, the next email after you get your admissions email is a list, an email that says next steps, walking you through um, the uh, the entire 12-step process to enrolling into Jackson State, step by step. You'll have that hands-on where you can look at it with contact information and things like that. So we try to make it to where students have that reference for themselves, but we encourage students to be proactive and understand that process by using whatever resources they have available from their high school counselor into their college readiness coaches to bring that and preparedness for getting ready for college.
So let's talk about testing requirements. Has your institution adopted a test optional policy for admissions? And importantly for our students, if they don't submit test scores, will that affect their scholarship opportunities?
I'll go first, I guess. For Jackson State, we do for academic scholarships. It's a process. First, the student has to definitely be admitted to the university, and we do require test scores plus a GPA requirement. It's one and the same. They cannot have one and not the other. So we do require those test scores, ACT or SAT. Those scores are listed under each scholarship that we offer. They have a range within each. And for students who apply for scholarships, who are looking to apply for scholarships, we have a window of opportunity to do so. October 1st is when those scholarships open. February 1st is when they close. Students apply once they submit their scores. We will take the highest scores. So if a student applies, submits a score in October, and they retake in December and they get a higher score, as long as they select Jackson State as one of their schools to have their scores sent to, those scores will automatically update in Clearinghouse at Jackson State, and we will use the highest score as long as the score is submitted before February 1st. They have a very strict rule on that score being submitted. So taking those SATs and ACTs early enough to have your scores submitted to the university is going to be very, 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 very important. Now, outside of those academic scholarships, there are a number of other institutional and development scholarships which students have the ability to go to our scholarship portal within their next step. Step 4 will list those processes to apply for those dates and how to go about it.
At Berea, it's pretty simple. Every student who's admitted into Berea College, we meet 100% of their financial need. So what that means is every student has to qualify financially, means they have to come with financial needs. So if you can afford Berea College, you can't attend Berea College is basically what it amounts to. So every student has to complete the FAFSA. They have to show that they meet Pell eligibility. And then there's other financial people. And the higher the need, the better. So if you have a SAI of 0, your family can afford to pay 0, then that actually is in your favor as far as getting into Berea College. The way our financial model works is everyone who gets in their tuition is completely covered. A tuition of over $200,000 for 4 years is completely covered. Whether they're there for 4 or 5, 6 years, whatever it is covered every year. They never have to reapply for it or anything. It's theirs. The other 2 big tickets are the housing and meals, and that's determined by their FAFSA. So whatever their SAI, their student aid index is, that's how much they pay for housing and meals. So if it's 0, if it's 1,500, if it's a negative, I think the highest I've seen is around a negative 746, something like that. That's money they would get back as far as the cost of housing and meals. So it's pretty straightforward as far as that. And they just have to fill out their FAFSA every year. And so we see very little change unless a family just wins the lottery or something as far as their SAI. So that doesn't change. As far as how that ties into the test optional piece, we are test optional. No student has to submit their test scores. And it's not tied to the financial model in any kind of way. As well, I like to make sure students understand too, if you decide to go test optional, we take that as you saying to us, the test scores do not best represent who you are as a student. So even if we get your transcript and your test scores are on there, it won't be held against you in any kind of way. I've seen students admitted that we have their test scores because they were given to us not by mistake, but because they're just included on their transcripts, or they decided they applied and then they changed their mind. I want to be test optional. We changed it, but we already had the scores. I've seen students who didn't meet our test score requirements, but because they chose to go test optional, it's not held against them in any kind of way. And I sit in decision meetings, so I guarantee students it's never held against them if they choose to go test optional in any kind of way.
For students coming from Alabama, what's the difference in tuition between in-state and out-of-state rates? If they are, if a student wanted to establish residency in the state, what does that process look like and how long does it typically take?
The same thing, everything I just said applies to every student, whether they are coming out of state or in state. No student is looked at the same. If they're in territory, because of our focus on the Appalachian region, that's in their favor. And if you're in the central northern Alabama area, you're within our in territory region. So it's in your favor, the same as it will be if you lived in Kentucky. Yeah.
All right, for us, it's a little different. If I guess average tuition cost for an out-of-state student is going to be about $2,000 per year more than per semester, than an in-state student. So you're looking roughly, based on your residence hall and amount of hours, out-of-state student would be roughly about 13,000 per semester. In-state student would be about 11,000 per semester. And we do offer, they waive the out-of-state tuition fee. I know student athletes and band scholarship students do receive a waiver for that out-of-state tuition. However, so you're looking at about a $2,000 difference in tuition total per semester for those out-of-state students. And to go back, Mr. Baker reminded me all ago, we are test optional. Those test scores are only required for application for academic scholarships. But as far as admissions, we are test optional also at Jackson State. And to answer your in-state residency change for us, student has to be at minimum 22 years of age or apply for financial aid independently from the parent with all documentation showing that they have been a resident in Mississippi for a year or more.
A common concern for families is students being far away from their home system. So, what support options does your institution provide to help out-of-state students adjust? And I'm thinking about like first year experience programs, club organizations, or other resources.
We do have a not only first year experience, we have a first gen experience for students, which is a wraparound service that follows that student through their sophomore year. And with that, there's a number of things. Free tutoring applied for every student at Jackson State, a writing center on campus, multiple clubs and organizations that are available for that student support through, and we have also the live learn communities within the residence halls where students are able to connect through their academic major and the residence halls where they live. So I think Student Affairs does put together a great program to assist those students, of course, because retention is important, and retaining that student through that first year is definitely the challenge with the transition to a campus this size, depending on the size of high school that the student.
We have a lot of the same offices and programs on campus, student groups. A couple of things that I like to share about my focus in admissions. Berea College was founded on interracial education from day one. So my focus is on mission advancement. Though we have to talk about it differently because of things being what they are, my focus has been finding on the best and brightest Black and Brown students. Unapologetically, that's still my focus, though we have everything for all students. But a couple of things based on that focus of mine I like to share about is we have our Black Cultural Center and we have our Espacial Cultural Latinx, that are two centers that are for our students or for those students on campus based on their identities, as well. Since around 1978, we've had someone living here in Alabama that works for Berea College. This is the only state where Berea has constantly had someone in admissions living here in the state. And that's because of our focus on interracial education. If we're going to stay committed to that pillar of who we are, interracial education, we have to go where students of color are. And there's a lot more in Alabama than there are Kentucky. So I share that to say there is a large number of students, and I wish I would have thought to pull that number as far as who's on campus right now. So when it comes to getting home, when it comes to knowing people or that are from your school, from your neighborhood, things like that, there's a lot of students that are on our campus or even work, myself and others on our campus, or I don't work on campus, I'm in Alabama, but work for Berea or teach there. So that community is there. So when it comes time to get home, or you need to have a conversation with someone that understands where you've come from as far as the distance piece, that's a big support network that we have specifically for Alabama.
Yeah, Khalil, now that you're like mentioning like going back home and we're on the topic of building support, um, often there's a question that families usually don't think about up front. And it's like, do dorms close during the breaks? And if so, like, does the institution offer like support to out-of-state students who can't travel home, such as like extending housing or hosting family programs? So I'm thinking especially about the students who may be limited on funds to go back home. So Khalil, if you want to touch more on that, and then I'll pass it over to Wendell for that question.
Yeah. So as I shared, you have to financially qualify. You have to have financial need to attend Berea College. So we understand that from the jump, who we serve, that's a piece that comes along with who's on our campus. And we're talking about other than international students or students of employees, everyone has to be Pell eligible. So 95 to 98% of our students are coming with that financial need. So that's just who we serve. So with that in mind, we've had that there. So every break, there's a residence hall or residence halls that are available for students to stay on campus. And we've dealt with that recently here with the holiday break in December. When you talk about a lot of international students, unfortunately, that were not able to travel home because of the risk of being able to come back into the country. So we had more than normal the students that needed to stay on campus. So a lot of students are able to stay on campus. That's in place as well. We have the other pieces in place as far as the making sure they're able to eat. So the cafeteria is still available for them as far as being able to eat on campus. As well, on top of that, we have faculty and staff that will host students. I took advantage of this when I was a student there. Students are often going into faculty and staff's homes and able to have meals and stuff like that. So they still get the holiday, the family aspects of being on campus if they want that.
Just like Mr. Baker said, same for us with some of those instances. With Jackson State being the size school that we are, there's never really a shutdown. And for like this semester, this holiday break was a difference. There was circumstances definitely for our international students to remain on campus for those same concerns. However, generally there would have to be a special request that would have to be approved for a student outside of a student athlete. Those students that are playing that are here on scholarship, playing a sport that plays through the holiday, they generally will be the only students that are normally on campus, typically, other than students that are like that work in housing, that are and again those international students. Now we do have faculty and staff that host those, but there is, and I did communicate, there is a process to make that request, but that request would have to be approved ahead of time, and there has to be a circumstance that requires it, that allows the student to be able to remain on campus during that time.
So as we wrap up our panel discussion, what's your best advice for students who are considering taking the leap and going out of state for college, to make their application stand out?
For us, is making the application stand out. For us, we at Jackson State, our largest population of students are out of state students. So it's not a huge challenge for an out of state student other than making the decision, getting admitted, following those next steps and attending. However, my biggest advice would be for students to start early. And for the counselors and the career coaches, transfer some of that load to us as the recruiters at the university, because that's what we're here for. Allow us to know schools. We can definitely take the weight off to make sure that those students are hearing and getting this information. Follow our social media outlets, encourage them to follow those. We do put really good information out on those, not only about the admissions process, about the application process, scholarship opportunities, different things. So we understand that time is limited for them, and they have very little time to have that one-on-one with students, but just the sheer numbers. So I think making sure that those students have the ability to communicate with our recruitment and finance admissions offices will definitely take some of the load off, and we can definitely answer those questions that students or parents may have through different webinars and things that we're hosting and offering for those.
For Berea, I would say the electives that we have a pretty straightforward application process, but we have a couple electives, including one is a short statement that you can fill out showing how you connect with the mission of Berea College. And that's a big part of it was what I already shared as far as our commitment to interracial education, as well as our other 8 commitments or 7 commitments. Um, Filling out, doing those electives, including that one where you can share how you connect with the mission of Berea College. Visiting is a big one as far as getting to campus, but also just staying in touch with your admissions counselor or specialist that we call them now. And I would say that's probably the case at any college. You're looking at the staying in communication. Too many folks fill out the application, they look great on the application, and then we're left to make a decision just based on what we have on paper. But we have the chat that all of our completed students are able to do that allows the admissions counselor to get to know you. That makes a big difference when we step into a decision meeting and we're deciding between 2 4.0s. And we have the one that's been in touch and the counselor can share their story and why they're a good fit. That makes a big difference. The other is extra. It doesn't really answer as far as the getting admitted, but I would say take advantage of our True Blue visit, which is our shadow visit that you can do for admitted students. Once you're admitted, you can set up a visit that will fly you to campus, or you'll pay for the mileage for you to get to campus. We'll put you in a hotel, or we'll put you in our cottage on campus, and you get to choose a student of your choice. You get a list of students, their bios, their pictures, their majors, their interests, their student engagement, and you get to shadow a student for 4 or 5 hours on campus, and your family can do a family visit while you're there. So that's a big thing I advise folks. Do it on our dime. Let us pay for it. We have the money, the grant money there for that. So
Thank you, Wendell and Khalil, for your insight. We are taking questions in the chat if anyone has any questions. Or if you think about questions from here on to the end of the presentation, we can answer those. But I'd like to shift gears now to our Alabama Direct Admissions refresher. So we have Alexis from EAB here to walk us through this. So Alexis, if you want to go ahead and share your screen, and whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yes, give me 1 second to pull that up. Alrighty. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Alexis Robinson. I am very happy to be here today representing the Match team, which is the platform that has been, serving the Alabama Goes to College initiative that we have started alongside Alabama Possible. My role, I am a counselor engagement senior specialist. So primarily I serve different high schools that are using the Match platform. So if there are any questions, things that come up while you're supporting your students using Match, I am your go-to person. So for today's call, I wanted to introduce or reintroduce the Alabama Direct Admission Initiative that we are currently doing. So just kind of an agenda or how our conversation today will flow. I'll do a quick demonstration or just more so a description of the Alabama Direct Admission Initiative. And then I'll go over what your experience will look like as a counselor using the platform. And then also how it looks on the student side Then we'll talk a little bit about the counselor dashboard and some of the resources and features that you all will have access to, and then wrap up with some resources and next steps for those of you who might want to get things started with your students this spring. So starting with the Alabama Direct Admission Initiative, we really want to ground ourselves in the why and why this initiative matters and how it works at a high level before we go into your role as a counselor. Direct admission is transforming higher education. Across the country, states and institutions are experimenting with ways to really flip the traditional model. And so what makes this approach so powerful is that it is student-centered. Students love it because it reduces stress, streamlines the process, builds confidence, and creates a stronger college-going culture. But not all direct admission programs are the same. Many still require students to complete applications, essays, and pay fees. And Alabama's program is different. We've removed the biggest barrier of them all, which is the application itself. So let's dive into how Alabama will be approaching the direct admission across the state this year. For students interested in participating, they create a simple, standardized profile on MAT. The only required document to be eligible is their high school transcript that does show at least 3 years of grades, and they can even share an unofficial transcript as well. The match technology connects them with the best fit colleges across Alabama, as well as out-of-state colleges. And then students will receive direct admission offers that they are eligible for, and they will never receive any rejections. So with the system, or with the support of the Alabama Community College system, we are ensuring that every eligible senior has a clear local option to consider, and then some across the state. So we did launch this initiative with the governor's office on July 31st. And so far, we've already seen nearly 17,000 students create match profiles, which represent over 500 high schools across the state. And actually, as of January 1st, Alabama seniors have been awarded over 197,000 admission offers and over $6.4 billion in merit-based scholarships from, I believe, about 60 plus of our high school or our college partners. So we do have 38 in-state colleges that are participating in this initiative, but students can indicate if they're interested in out-of-state colleges as well. In the chat, I am going to paste the link to the Alabama Direct Admission Initiative website, and also it'll allow you to see our current partners. So you can see the community colleges that are participating, as well as our traditional four-year colleges. Next, I wanted to share with you some quotes, some feedback that we've been able to receive so far. So we have one from a student at Williamson High School. She actually was not initially planning to go to college. She's working on her CNA license right now. But since participating in the match program, she's been able to receive offers from Spelman or Spring Hill College, the University of Mobile, and also some other out-of-state colleges. Her quote says, "I thought I was going to get a regular CNA license, that's it, and I was going to be a CNA for the rest of my life. I didn't really have any hope for college until I received the matches and received the scholarships." So this is definitely heartwarming for us to be able to know that we're really, changing students' lives and their trajectory of what their plans were post high school. We also have a quote from a counselor, Dr. Monica Motley from Mobile County Public Schools. She said that this shifts the mindset of our students. They understand that receiving a post-secondary education is not only possible, but now that it's a reality. We are making it a reality for our students by providing them with access to colleges and universities so they can reach their dreams. And that is definitely our hope. So now that's the big picture of the initiative. I'm going to now shift gears and talk about what it means for you as a counselor and what your experience will be as you use the Match platform to support your students. So our counselors have always been crucial in guiding students, but often we don't know, or you don't know, where your student has applied or actually what offers they've received. And so Match really changes that. For the first time, you'll have real-time visibility into the admission and scholarship offers that your students receive. This empowers you to have more informed conversations with them. And in your role, this initiative really boils down to kind of three things. One is sharing this out with your students. So making sure that your students do complete a profile and encourage any of your remaining seniors to see what opportunities they may receive. Secondly, you can support with transcripts. So that does help to ensure that the students have their transcripts uploaded, and you can also see if there are any students who haven't uploaded those as well, if you are encouraging your students to upload them themselves. And then thirdly, you can help students explore their options and make decisions. So once the offers do arrive, you can actually use the reports that you can access in the counselor dashboard to help your students weigh their options. So in the chat, I am going to put the link to the Match site where counselors can actually sign up for an account. If you don't already have one, counselors as well as career coaches. You'll notice that we kind of use counselors as a blanket term, but any person from a school or a district or even a community-based organization that is supporting students with their college applications, college admissions, you can create a Match account. So getting started is simple. You will sign up for a counselor or an administrator account using your school or your CBO email. You can set a password and then provide your school or your CBO's information. We will then verify your account and link you to your students. So if you already have students who are on the platform, you'll be able to log in and see all of their profiles and offers they've received. So once you're in, you can then track your students' progress, see any admission and scholarship offers, send a bulk nudge to any of your students. You can bulk upload transcripts as well. And again, export any of those reports for your schools. And I will kind of cover these features in detail a little later in the webinar. So next, let's flip perspectives and walk through the process from the student side, what they'll experience, and how you can support in guiding them. So for students, the process is simple and it's designed to be flexible. Students will create a Match profile, which normally doesn't take them any more than 10 to 15 minutes. It does include basic information, college preference questions, as well as region information. The Alabama colleges that are participating in this initiative have recommended for any students who have taken the ACT and scored an 18 or above to add their test score so they can be considered for additional merit-based scholarships as well. So typically we do not require a student to provide test scores to be considered, but if they want to be considered for those additional offers, they can also self-report their ACT score. Secondly, they will need to upload a transcript. Again, unofficial is fine, and it does need to show at least 3 years of final grades, so freshman through junior year. Then they'll receive offers the following 2 monthly Match events. So we do have these Match events every month where our college partners go in and review the latest profiles that have been submitted. And our profile deadline is always the first of the month. So students will then, once they receive their offers, need to respond to these offers that they are interested in. And that is a required piece in order for them to be able to move forward and receive their full student admitted package. So let's take a look at the first piece of students entering their profiles and the flexible ways that we've created for all of our schools to decide and determine how best to get your students to participate. So schools can roll this out in 3 different ways. First, you could play the step-by-step onboarding video that we have provided, and you can use this in a classroom setting if you wanted to get the whole group to watch the video and follow along. The second option is a downloadable slide deck that will walk students through each step. Or lastly, you can use our customized Alabama-specific email templates on the initiative. And so you can just send that out to students and families and have them complete their profiles independently. So now that we walked through how students can set up their profiles, let's spend a little time on what is probably the most important part, which is submitting transcripts. So this is key to really unlocking those admission offers. So again, the transcript does need to include 3 years of grades. It does not have to be official. If the student has transferred schools, they will need to include any grades from other schools that they have attended. One question that we do hear a lot is about privacy and security. And I do want to reassure you that all of the transcripts that we receive will automatically be redacted as soon as they're uploaded. So that means all personal identifying information like address, social security number is hidden. So the transcript is only going to be visible to a college once the student has actually accepted the offer and has provided that consent. So until then, no one outside of the match system will be able to see that student's information. So in short, transcripts are required, unofficial is fine, and the system is built to protect student data from the very start. So once students know that they need a transcript, the next question is, how do they actually get it uploaded? So we have built 3 different routes so students or schools can choose which option works best. So option 1, the student can upload it on their own. So the student can upload a PDF copy of their transcript directly into the Match platform when they're creating their profile. Option 2, a counselor can assist in that upload process. So when you log into your Match dashboard, you'll be able to actually attach transcripts to the students' profiles as needed. So this will require you to kind of go in periodically and check to see which students are missing a transcript and upload that PDF copy for them. And then a third option is a one-time bulk upload by the school or the district. So this is probably the most efficient option if you kind of want this quick one-time solution. You can send us a single file that includes all of your seniors' transcripts. And we will, in the chat, send a opt-in form, and we'll just do a data privacy agreement with your district. And so that also will help to eliminate you all having to individually go in and upload transcripts each time. So if that is something that you may be interested in, I will drop that link in the chat as well. So that way, once you complete the form, we'll reach out to you about signing an agreement. And also, before I move past this page, I just wanted to stress that regardless of which route you choose, transcripts are only going to be stored for students who create a match profile. So if a student doesn't end up participating, their transcript is never going to be uploaded or held by our system. So once the transcripts are in the system, whether the student uploads them directly or you assist or we get them from bulk upload, that's the last kind of big step in that students will need to complete on their end. And so once we have the transcripts, they are then eligible to start receiving direct admission offers. So in this next section, I'm going to walk through what the direct admission offer will look like and how offers are delivered and what's included in those offers and how this information is designed to really help students explore their options in confidence. So now let's dig into what the student will actually see when they start receiving their direct admission offers. So first I wanted to kind of identify what is an offer. So on Match, an offer means that a college or university has reviewed the student's profile and they have made the proactive decision to admit them. So this is not a placeholder, it's a real admission offer. And one of the more, I guess, exciting parts of this initiative is that a student will only hear yes. So every single offer in this process is an acceptance. There are no rejections. So that alone can really make a huge difference in how confident and encouraged students feel about their college options. So each offer will include program information that is aligned with what the student has indicated as their academic program of interest. Also, many of our offers do include merit-based scholarships, so they can see right away if they do qualify for additional funding. It will also include a college overview to help them learn about the institution. We have virtual tours, where students can also explore the campus from wherever they are. So even if it's an out-of-state school, they won't have the opportunity to visit. That's still a way to see what that campus offers. There's also a built-in direct chat feature where they can interact with a college representative if they have any questions that they want to address. And then finally, we do also provide the FAFSA codes and any submission instructions so that they know exactly what their next step is financially. These aren't just offers, they're kind of all-in-one admission packages that provides them with information, affordability, as well as access to the students. So after reviewing the offers, the next step is for the student to respond. So when it comes to responding to offers, this is what's kind of most important to know. In order for the student to receive their official admitted student package from the college, they do need to respond before the expiration date. So typically the deadlines are between 30 to 60 days, but some colleges may extend those opportunities throughout the year. Students can express interest in multiple offers, so nothing is binding at this stage. And then lastly, by responding, the student is giving consent to their information then being shared directly with that college. So once students are in the system, you'll need a way to see their progress and offers in real time. And so that's where the counselor dashboard comes in. So one of the more powerful pieces of this initiative is the counselor and admin dashboard. You can really think of this kind of as your command center. It does give you real-time insight into how your students are progressing and what offers they've received. So with the dashboard, you'll be able to track profile creation. So you'll know which students have started and who still needs to jump in. You can monitor any admission offers and scholarships, both at the individual student level and also across your entire school or organization. You can see all students who are attached to your school or your CBO. And for my CBOs in particular, it is important that students select your organization when they're setting up their profile, so that way you can be linked to them as well. You can also download reports from here. Here's where you can pull all of your student offers and scholarships into one spreadsheet for easy tracking. And it also allows you to even download a customized infographic with your school or organization's match results. And now I want to go into what are kind of some other specific features that you'll have access to. So the access or the dashboard is designed to keep things simple for you. So when you log in, you'll see these different buckets at the top. So the first one lets you know the students who've started a profile, they may have information that they're missing. So you can actually send them a nudge to remind them to go in and complete their profiles. You can also see which students need transcript support. And lastly, you can see those students who are complete and are active and ready to be reviewed for admission offers. All right, so finally, I want to talk about some of the resources that you do have available to get started and the key steps to get started after today's webinar. I know we've covered a lot of information. We have put together this toolkit series for our counselors and career coaches, so that way you'll know what you need to do kind of every step of the way. So we have an account creation guide, a student and family communication toolkit, a student onboarding toolkit, as well as a toolkit to understand the dashboard and the offers. I will put that link in the chat as well. And if you ever have any questions, you can always reach out to us on the Match team. And our email is listed here, counselorengagement@EAB. So with our last few minutes, again, just wanted to kind of wrap up what the next steps are. So first, make sure you're downloading that counselor toolkit series, and then you can create your match counselor account so students can be linked to you. Then you can assist your students with creating a profile and submitting their transcripts. And then once those offers come in, you'll be able to review those admission offers with your students and help them to decide which college might be a great fit. So if there are any questions, please feel free to add them in the chat. I did write kind of 3 of the common questions that we have been receiving. One, can students receive out-of-state offers? Yes. In the profile, the student can indicate if they're interested in out-of-state offers. Second common question, do students need to complete an application after receiving a direct admission offer? And the answer is no. So once a student indicates interest in the offer on Match, that information is then going to be sent over to the college so that student can be added into their system as an admitted student. So no additional application is required. And then lastly, does accepting an offer mean they have to enroll? No, these offers are not binding. So students can accept as many of the offers as they would like, but they are required to respond and indicate interest on Match. So that way the college knows who they are and can send them their acceptance package. That was all that I had. I do have a last slide here that does just have our how you can stay connected with us. Again, our email is counselorengagement@EAB. So if you have any questions after today, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Thank you, Alexis. I'll pass it over to May to see where we are in our last final minutes of the webinar to pull up the poll questions, and then we'll finish off with some questions afterwards.
Yeah, thank you, Alexis, for sharing all that information. Ciamara is also sharing the course number and the section number that you will need to use within PowerSchool to claim your credit.
And just before we wrap it up, I just wanted to remind you about our upcoming events. We do have our first community conversation for the academic year next Wednesday, January 21st, where two of our educator advisory council members lead the conversation on FAFSA enrolled schools, empowering every student for college success at 10 a.m. Then we also have our Charting Career Pathways webinar on Wednesday, January 28th at 10:30 a.m. And then we have our second community conversation, Ready to Play, Helping High School Athletes Achieve on Tuesday, February 3rd. And you can register for all of these upcoming webinars and community conversations at alabamapossible.org/events. So I know I did see a question in the chat.
So Chris Jones asked, how does your institution classify out-of-state applicants who graduate high school with a confirmed Associate of Science degree? Specifically, are they processed as first-year students for scholarship eligibility while receiving a transfer credit evaluation for their degree, or are they required to apply as transfer students? And I know Khalil responded about Berea, but I didn't know if Wendell also wanted to respond, but at Berea, a student can transfer in up to 2 years of credits from an accredited institution. They count towards graduation and meet the requirement of that course if it is required for their graduation path. They are processed as a transfer student unless they are graduating from high school with those credits through dual enrollment. In either case, the financial aid model is the same, meeting 100% of demonstrated need. But yeah, I'll turn it over to Wendell to speak to that.
Yes, for us, our students, if you transfer in with those college credits, we do take those credits if you transfer in it with an associate's, as long as it was completed as dual enrollment, you are still considered a first-time freshman, so you are eligible for first-time freshman scholarships. There is a based on the major, there is an articulation that has to take place based to determine how many of those credits will transfer over into your major. Now, we accept all of the credits, but there are going to be specific requirements for those business and STEM-based majors that are required to that you're required to take within those academic colleges. But however, to answer your question, we do accept those credits, but you will retain your first-time freshman status as long as you are completing that those credits under dual enrollment.
And I'd like to add just for folks, often you won't get the full answer that me and Mr. Fountain have given you. A lot of schools, you'll just ask, do you accept the dual enrollment or do you accept transfer credits? And they'll just give you a yes. But I encourage folks to make sure you ask the follow-up questions. You need to know, is there a limit? You need to know, will they just count as elective credits or will they count towards the requirements? Those things are real important that you ask those things as well.
But I also would like to remind everyone about our help desk line. It is open to you, students and families. Just call or text us at 334-316-6155, weekdays from 9 to 5. And as always, stay connected with us through our website, alabamagoestocollege.org, by calling or texting us at 334-316-6155, or emailing us at algoestocollege@alabamapossible.org. And I just want to thank everyone for joining us and staying over the time of our webinar. You will be getting a follow-up email with the PowerPoint presentation, and we'll be sure to include contact information for our panelists and presenters today. I want to thank you all, Khalil, Wendell, Alexis, for joining us this morning and giving us important information. And recording will be up in the next 2 days, so we'll hope to see you all soon. Thank you so much for joining us.